Okay, so this is an overview of the RubyGem PupFinder, which provides a CLI to browse the American Kennel Club's official list of dog breeds. So the first thing I wanted to do is just show you how this works. So if I do bin/run, we get this welcome message. What size pup are you interested in? You can say tiny, small, medium, large, or huge. And if I say tiny, we get this list of tiny dogs. And if I say, let's say 14, we get the breed name, temperament, the weight, the life expectancy, the description, and then we get this menu. Would you like to see another one? You can say yes, no, or menu. If I say yes, we get this list of tiny dogs again. If I press 1, we get the same information for a different breed, the breed name, temperament, weight, life expectancy, and then if I say menu, we go back up and we can enter in again, tiny, small, medium, large, or huge. If I say huge, we get this list of huge dogs. So if I do St. Bernard, we again get information about the breed. Now if I press exit, program ends. So first, let's just talk about how we set this up. So in our gem file, we included the gem pry, require all, no kogiri for scraping, and rainbow, which was for colorizing the terminal output. In our run file, we have this shebang line at the top, which essentially just tells the interpreter to use Ruby to interpret the program. We have our require relative line, which requires the directory config in the file environment within config, which we'll talk about in a second. And then we call .new on our CLI class, and we call welcome on that new instance. And this essentially runs our program. So then in our config environment file, we have our two bundler lines. To use bundler, we require OpenURI, which is also for scraping, and we require all lib, which requires all the files in our lib directory. And then the other classes we have a breed class, a CLI class, a scraper class, and a URL generator class. So the reason why we have this URL generator class, so we have, because we give the user the option to put in what size dog breed they'd like to see, we have to generate our URL to scrape based on that input. So we have our base URL up here, which gives us all dog breeds. We set input equal to selected size, which is an argument of this method. And then we have this case statement, and we say when input is extra small, then we set this variable new URL equal to the base URL with this query string shoveled onto the end of the base URL. And just to show you what this query string looks like on the website, it's essentially this, but we've removed this 5B0 %5D. These are just brackets. So essentially our URL for each size is just this base URL with this query string added onto it. This method returns new URL, so based on what the user enters, we have a new URL to scrape. So then we have a scraper class, a breed class, and a CLI class. So the breed class, in this class, we have a bunch of attribute accessors. We have breed name, temperament, weight, life expectancy, description, breed link, and breed size. We have a class variable add@all, and we have an initialize method. So when new breed instances are initialized, we initialize them with a breed name, a breed link, and a breed size, and we set name, link, and breed size equal to those parameters. We also shovel self, which is the instance of breed, onto our add@all class variable, and then we have a class method .all, which exposes the add@all class variable. So let's talk about our scraper class. So in the scraper class, we have this add@loadMoreLink class variable, which is initially set to nil. Our first method is called getFirstPageBreeds, and it takes in a size URL. So this is a class method that initially opens up the first URL based on the URL that's generated. This URL that's generated, we open that up, we get all the breeds on page 1, and we set it equal to first page breeds. This CSS scrapes all breeds on page 1. And then we call initial breed instantiation, the method down here, and it takes in first page breeds and size URL. So what this is essentially doing is it's iterating through all of the breeds on that page. It's setting breed name equal to the text scraped with the CSS. The link is equal to this scraped data, and then the size is equal to that size URL split at the equal sign and accessed at the first index, and that just gives us the breed size so that the breeds are instantiated with a size. And then once we have all of those pieces of data scraped, we call .new on breed, which instantiates a new instance of a breed, and we instantiate it with a breed name, a breed link, and a breed size. So then the next method that we have in this class is called get all pages of breeds, and it takes in a size URL. So the first thing it does is it calls get first page breeds. So this method basically just scrapes, if I say that I would like to see more information about small dogs, then this method is going to get all the small dogs on all the pages. And by pages, I'm referring to the fact that if I select small, we have this first initial page of all the small breeds, and at the bottom there's a load more link. So if you click on the load more link, it loads more small dogs. Then you click on it again, and it loads more small dogs. And there's multiple pages for each size. So again, we call get first page breeds, which it instantiates breeds with name, link, and size. And then we have a while loop. So initially at load more link is set to nil, but once we've called get first page breeds, we've set the at load more link class variable equal to the link on the first page, so the first load more link. And we're saying while that exists, do the following. So we get all the breeds on that page. So on the next page, because we're opening up that load more link, and we're setting it equal to next page doc. Then next page breeds is equal to all of the breeds on that next page, scraped from that page with the CSS. And then we call initial breed instantiation here, and it takes in next page breeds and size URL. So now we've scraped the name, the link, and the size for everything on the second page. Then we reassign at load more link equal to the text of the load more link on the bottom of that second page, and we do it again. We go back up, and now we're still in this while loop. And basically we keep doing this until at load more link is falsy or does not exist, in which case this while loop will end. So that will give us all pages of let's say small dogs. Let's say there's 10 pages of small dog breeds. Get all pages of breeds gives us, instantiates a bunch of breeds of small size by scraping those load more links. So then we have a method down here called make breed. So this method is where we actually get the additional information about each breed. So the temperament, the weight, the life expectancy, and the description. And the reason why this is separate from these methods up here is because we don't want to do an initial scrape of all information about all dog breeds, because it makes the program very slow. So initially all we want, because we're going to give the user the option to select from a list, all we want initially is just the breed's name. So we don't need to instantiate a bunch of breed objects with all this information initially. We just need the breed name. So make breed gets called after user makes a selection of which dog they want to see. So this takes in a list, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but the list is just the list. If the user selects small, list is a list of all small dog breeds. So if the user enters 2, we do 2 minus 1 to get the index of that dog breed, and we access that index in list, and we set it equal to breed to scrape, and that gives us a name of a dog breed that we want to scrape. So then we have this breed object array variable, and this creates an array with just the object we want to add more data to. So we're going to iterate through all of the breeds by accessing breed.all. We're going to use the select method, and then if breed name is equal to the breed that we want to scrape, then we return that breed object. So again, this creates an array with essentially one object, which is just the breed that we want to add more data to. So we set doc equal to nokogiri, open breed object array at index 0 dot breed link. So this gives us the link of that specific breed that we want to open. And then once we've opened up that specific breed's page, we have a bunch of list items, and that CSS is here. And then we're going to iterate through all of these list items. And if the text of this list item is temperament, then our breed's temperament is equal to this text. And then we set weight equal to that text, and we set life expectancy equal to that text. The description is different because it's not in these LIs, so it's actually in the footer. So if the basically if this exists, we set the description equal to that text. Otherwise, we set description equal to none available because there were some dogs where there was no description available. So that is our scraper class. Now let's talk about the CLI class. So the CLI class is essentially how we run this CLI. So we have some readers, we have a generated URL, a selected size, and a list attribute. The first thing it does is it calls welcome, which puts out this welcome message, and it calls the method call. And then the call method executes another method and does something else, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's talk about, we'll come back to call and get info, but let's first talk about what these other methods do. So what size, this is a method that just simply puts out two messages. What size puppa are you interested in? And then gives more information. You can say tiny, small, medium, large, or huge. The get size method, so this sets so there's an array here that includes tiny, small, medium, large, or huge, and we set sizes to select from this local variable equal to that array. So we basically say these are the sizes the user can select from. We set the input variable equal to gets.strip.downcase, which takes in user input, strips it, and downcases it. And then we have these if-else statements, and we say if the input is equal to tiny, we reassign input to extra small, and that's because extra small is the wording that the website uses. Otherwise, if input is equal to huge, we say input is equal to extra large. Otherwise, or else if input is equal to exit, we puts out this goodbye message, and the return value of get size would be exit, which we'll come back to in a minute. Else, if the sizes to select from do not include the input that the user entered, then we're going to puts please try again, and we're going to call, we're going to reassign input equal to this method call get size. So then we go back up, and we again have our sizes to select from. We have again input equals gets.strip.downcase, and it essentially keeps looping until input is equal to tiny, huge, or is included in these options. And then we also set the instance variable selected size equal to whatever that input ends up being, and we return input. So the next method we have is called please wait. This just puts out a message, please wait while we load the pups. We have a generate URL method that takes in input. So we set the local variable URL to scrape equal to this method call URL generator.new URL input. So URL generator again was this class. New URL takes in selected size. So this essentially, again, just generates a URL based on the size the user selects. So generate URL sets URL to scrape equal to that value. And then we call scrape pages. So that method was important because it's used in this method scrape pages. And this method essentially just prevents the program from instantiating new breeds if they already exist. So if the user enters tiny, they get more information about tiny dogs, they go back to the main menu and they enter tiny again. We don't want to re-scrape all of the tiny breeds because we should already have them. So essentially we have this if-else statement. We say if the generated URL, which is our instance variable, and if that's equal to generate URL selected size, so basically if this already exists, do nothing. Otherwise, we set generated URL equal to the return value of this method call, and then we call get all pages of breeds on AK scraper. So that then we do our initial scrape that gets our breed name, our breed size, and our breed link. Then we have a find all breeds by size method, and this goes along with list breeds. So the first thing we do is we return an array of all breed objects with just name, size, and link attributes that match the size. So if the user says small, we do breed.all.select, and we say, essentially we select all of the breeds within breed.all where the breed size matches the size parameter. So this just essentially accesses all of the existing breeds and takes back just the size that we want. And then we create a list from that. So that return value, so find all breeds by size, selected size, this is that array. We call map with index on it, and we puts out the index plus 1 because we don't want to start at 0 because it's a list. We put the breed name, and then we return the breed name because we need our list breeds method to have a return value, which it won't have if the last thing that we do here is just a put statement. So then we have our enter a number method, and this puts out enter a number to see more information about that pup. Then we have the get number method, which takes in that list that we built earlier. It sets a local variable called range to select from equal to 1 all the way up to list.length and turns it into an array. So if there's 58 small dogs, then we have an array that's 1 all the way through 58. And then we say number entered equals gets.strip. So we want to take in user input and strip it. And the first thing we do is if number entered is not equal exit, then we're going to convert it to an integer. We'll talk about this in a second, but else, return exit. So if number entered is exit, then we want the return value of get number to be exit. Otherwise, if number entered does not equal exit, then we're going to convert it to an integer. And then we go into this loop. And basically what the loop does is if the range to select from does not include the number entered, so let's say there's 58 small dogs and the user enters 102, then we put out this message, please enter a number between the first number in the range and the last number in the range. And then we call get number, but then we call the get number method again. We go back up here, and we basically do the same thing. If it's not exit, then we convert it to an integer, and we just essentially keep doing this until the number that the user enters is a number in that list. If it is, then we return number entered, and the return value of this get number method is the return is the number entered by the user. Next, we have a method called more info, which takes in number entered. So we set this local variable breed to C equal to, it essentially takes in that list, so our @list instance variable, which should be set to the list that we created. We take the number entered, so if the user says 5, we subtract 1 because the index starts at 0. And then we're going to iterate through breed.all with each. And for each breed, we're going to say if breed.breedName equals the breed to see. So once we find the breed name, which is the breed that we want to see, then we're going to put out all this information about it. The name, the temperament, the weight, the life expectancy, and description. This is just the ASCII art. And then we're going to end that method. Then we have our continue message, which allows the user to continue. So would you like to see another one? You can say yes, no, or menu, or you can enter exit in this program. We have a method called continue gets, which just takes in user input, and then this method is used here in options. So in our options method, we have this case statement where continue gets, which is this gets.strip.down case. If it's yes, we call get info, which we'll come back to. If it's menu, we call the call method, which is also at the top. Otherwise, if it's no, we put goodbye. If it's exit, we put goodbye. And if it's none of those things, we put please try again, and we call the options method, which takes us back up to continue gets. And it essentially makes it so that the user has to enter yes, no, menu, or exit. So let's talk about what happens when we call get info and call. So if it's yes, basically what this does is if they enter yes, they're saying that they want to see another, that same list of that size of dog breeds. So we're just going to call get info. If it's menu, this should take us back up to the first part of our program. So let's talk about call and get info. So call, the method call, first thing it does is it calls the method what size, which is this method that we talked about earlier, which just puts out what size pupper are you interested in. You can say tiny, small, medium, large, or huge. Then we call get size, which we also talked about. This is the one that takes in user input and makes it so that it has to be tiny, small, medium, large, or huge. So if get size is equal to exit, then we're going to do nothing. Otherwise, we will call please wait, scrape pages, and get info. So basically, this is here so that if the user enters exit, the program does nothing. If it's not exit, if get size is not exit, which means it should be an appropriate size, we call please wait, which is this put statement. Then we call scrape pages, which is, I lost it here. So this is where, based on the size the user entered, we scrape and we get the breed name, the size, and the link. And then we call the getInfo method. GetInfo is here. So this is where we set the instance variable list equal to the return value of list breeds, which should be a list of all breeds by that size. We call enter a number, which puts out this message, enter a number to see more information about that pup. We call get number, which takes in list, and we set that equal to number to see. So get number list was, again, this method, which either returns exit or the number the user enters. And we say, if the return value is exit, then we puts out the goodbye statement and we do nothing else. Otherwise, it should be an appropriate number entered, in which case we'll call make a breed on AKC scraper, which will take in the number to see in the list. So this is the method that, again, will scrape more information about that particular breed, which gives us the temperament, the life expectancy, the description, all of that stuff. And then we call the continue message, which was that message that puts out, would you like to see another pup? You can enter yes, no, or menu, or you can enter exit. And then the last thing it does is it calls options. And then options was this last method that when yes, we call get info, which skips what size and just executes all of these methods. When menu, we go back to call, which gives the user the option to select a size again. And when no, or when exit, we puts out goodbye. Otherwise, please try again, options. And essentially, this just keeps looping until the user enters exit. And that should be it. I hope that was helpful. Thank you very much.